Copy.
Welcome to the Prospectors Radio Show, the talk show for our community. Please welcome Rich Cooley, Indiana Gold Hunter Dennis Dayton, Kathleen Biffle, and your host, Tim Grimes.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Prospector Radio. Tonight, we have two special guests joining us. We have Kevin Hoagland from the GPAA and Shannon Poe all the way from AMRA. What's going on, you guys?
Surviving. We're off of COVID, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Kevin's going to advise me because I had to go to Lowe's and I had to wear a mask today because our county here in California is still on complete lockdown. You see the idiots driving their cars with their masks and, you know, all wrapped up and everything. And so
hang on, Shannon. Let me get a mask on my camera real quick.
Yeah, just to protect everybody. I mean,
there we go.
we got to be safe. We don't want to be spreading that stuff around. You know, it's anarchy. That's all it is. That's where I'm.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. Do they just want you just to stay home and never leave?
Well,
Power and control.
Is that what it is?
Pretty much.
I just don't know what 2020 is going to bring next, you know?
Oh, somebody said yesterday the locusts are coming.
With laser beams.
Well, the locusts already are in Africa, I believe. So yeah, they'll ride the air current over soon.
Well, you know, they totally teamed up with the killer hornets, so.
Oh yeah, they got the murder hornets too.
They've slowed down, only hitting Oregon and Washington, I believe.
They prefer
It's got to be something. Always got to be something, it seems like.
It kind of seems a lot of this stuff is happening where dredging's prohibited.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Which I think brings us to the topic of the evening.
Yes.
Yes. So Shannon, what is happening with that whole dredging thing I was reading about the other day?
Well, it's kind of interesting. So Kevin was on the call. We've actually been talking about this whole dredging crap for years.
Right.
And he was a part of the original Senate Bill 637 laws that they passed when they prohibited it here, you know, requiring the water board to evaluate whether or not we should have a permit or not have a permit. Well, they finally did that, and they came out with a draft proposal. And that was what this first meeting was last Thursday. And it lasted for, I don't know, probably 4 hours, I guess.
Right.
And was that your dog barking in the background?
That's not Shad. Shad doesn't bark that deep.
No, that's true. He sounds like a chihuahua. See, I'll show you. This is my dog right there. See, he's nice and calm and quiet.
The only shade spot in the yard.
Yeah, we have one sitting between us too. This is the meat.
That's a beauty dog. Wow. Huh.
She's a German Shepherd lap dog.
Oh yeah, we have a 110-pound chocolate lab that believes that he's a lap dog. It likes to flip upside down on top of you. Mm-hmm. So anyway, back to this whole dredging thing. So they released the information about it. It was like 80 some pages long. And it was obviously written by an attorney because 99% of the people reading it couldn't understand a single damn word in it.
Right.
The permits, I'll just kind of go over a cursory thing about what the permit looks like here in California. They've pretty much made up their mind that yes, you can get a permit. It's going to be regulated under the EPA. We asked them very specifically, what is the pollutant that a suction dredge adds? And we all know that there is no pollutant because we don't add anything. And they said toxicity. And their contention is because we lift mercury up off of the waterway and it runs it over a sluice box. If we drop even one little microspeck back into the water, they're claiming that we create a toxic environment. When we asked them how far that traveled downstream, they basically just refused to answer that. We will get the answer to that. because it's important. But anyway, all of this stuff, guys, is really kind of a moot point. And all the other regulation, the $3,000 cost for a permit, which is good for 5 years, all of that stuff is really moot, because it looks like, to me, what they did is, I would imagine most of all of you guys do know what Agenda 21 is. But for the followers that don't, it's really kind of the United Nations is trying to designate certain areas in the world that they just don't want people to be in. And it's something that dates all the way back to the 1988s. Looks to me like they took that map from them, or they took the map of all the gold deposits in the state of California, and that's where they prohibited suction dredging. So,
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
Can you give me a screen share and I can pull up the maps?
Sure.
there you go. So anyway, they kept saying during this meeting that they just want to get us these permits so we can get out there and dredge. Just get us the permits. Here they are. Here you go. But nobody is going to get a damn permit if you can't dredge where there's gold. I mean, who wants to go down in downtown Bakersfield or, outside of San Francisco in the frickin' bay and dredge for gold? Well, you can't. It's just utterly absurd. So as it stands now, all of the mining claims in the state of California are prohibited. There it is.
Wow. You're
So-
right, Shannon. It's all the gold fields.
And that's obviously by design. They don't want you to be able to mine. It's long been known that the Democrat Party here in California despises suction dredging. They despise gold miners and really despise the simple act that we can go out and make money off of public lands. And so, they pat themselves on the back and they're so morally and, great for you. And we're giving you this permit and here you can go out and dredge, but you're never going to get any gold. So we are opposing that vehemently. We've long held the belief that no permit is necessary because we don't add anything. We've said that for going back all the way to when AMRA was formed. But I don't know, guys. This is kind of one of those situations here in California, and I'll ask Kevin to chime in here as well. That this is an absolute no-go. We are opposing every aspect of it. We're going to be formally opposing this, probably writing a letter, and we'll post it and all that kind of stuff. But then they had the nerve to use this whole COVID BS shutdown to have these online Zoom meetings, just like what we're doing right now. And that's how these people that are actually making the decisions about your livelihood, your claims, your property, and everything like that, and that's how they don't have to face you.
Sure.
So we've done 2 unofficial polls right now, and we've got about 200 people that have responded. That because we asked them very specifically, look, you can get a permit. Okay, if they pass this and jam this through, then it becomes solid and you can't change it. And you can get a permit, but you can't dredge anywhere there's gold. So why don't we postpone this to where you and you and you and you and you can all go and stand in front of these people, look them in the eye, and then you get to voice your opinion to them personally.
Right.
And so that's what I think we're going to make the recommendation on behalf of the miners that we represent. I know the GPAA feels the same. I talked to Kevin this afternoon. A lot of every one of the other groups that we've spoken to also agree on that. I mean, geez, we've waited for 11 years right now, a couple more months. Probably isn't going to change anything, but I want them to hear me and I want to look them in the eye when I do the presentation and call them out on stuff. And Kevin knows what that is. We're not going to talk about some of that
No.
tonight.
Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of things that I guess, I don't want to call it divide and conquer, but it's kind of heading down a couple of separate paths that I think are going to prove very, very relevant very, very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of stupid to spend $3,000 for a permit to dredge where you can't get no gold. It's just kind of
That's an ounce of
Well,
gold.
did you see the second? Did you see the second map that I brought up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the actual open area. So I'm going to bring
And half of
that.
them don't even have water.
Well, I want to bring that map back up for just a second and share with you some of the great places I'm really looking forward to go dredging in.
Okay.
Bakersfield, you can dredge the Mojave Desert, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
With a
So if you look down towards the southern end of the state, my cursor doesn't work through there. I didn't set it up for the cursor, but if you look down there through the southern end of the state, there it is. That's getting close to the Salton Sea area, which I'm really excited about, dredging around the Salton Sea. And then just a little bit west or a little bit east of that is as we start coming back across. This is this is getting close to quartzite, and we know that there's so much good water out there to go dredging on.
Yeah.
So if you dredge
So
the
much
Salton Sea, do you have to get like a new wetsuit every 3 or 4 hours? Does it just dissolve off you, or how does that work?
Have you been to the Salton Sea in the last 30 years?
No,
20 years?
no.
I wouldn't. I was there about 10 years ago and was just sick. Sick.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just the funk in the air. Just the funk is just it's just disgusting. I don't even know why anybody would go there.
Smells
But-
like Bakersfield.
That's
Yeah,
why-
and I have to say, because and what Shannon was saying, we completely support this and all of that with all the memberships and all of the members, and it is ridiculous. And the idea of postponing this is the only thing that makes sense. It's the only sensible thing to do.
right.
You know, and I asked a couple of questions. I had 3 questions that I worked with Kevin Bell, the state director, and then I reworded them. And then I also pulled up a bunch of legal documents and looked at some other things. And what shocked me is that, you know, when it all boils down to it, and Shannon said, we don't need a permit because the EPA, there we go. EPA, the EPA considers dredging incidental fallback, and there is no permit for it. So when we're in the middle of the conversation, I asked the attorney at one point. I said, I just commented that, hey, you know what, you do realize that if we were in a non-MPD state, we wouldn't have this conversation because there is no permit necessary.
Right.
And he kind of got quiet and he said something. I said, look, I can send you all this. He said something. I'll have to look into that a little bit deeper. And my remark with him was, you know what? I have all the supporting documents. I'll send it to you. Now, I know this guy is just doing what he's really told to do. I understand that.
Right.
And Shannon started out the meeting exactly the way, and I'm so proud of him to doing this, because the first thing he said was, don't kill the messenger. You know, these people have a job. They were told to do this job. They're doing their job. And this is what they're presenting to us. It's a draft. Don't be angry with them.
Right.
This, to me, at this point, this isn't even about being passionate or being emotional about any of this. This is just about digging into the bottom line.
That's, and you know, to couple on top of that, Kevin, it's this whole process is political.
Absolutely.
What I was referring to when my first statement there was don't shoot the messenger, because the people that were presenting the draft proposal was the department, the scientists, the engineers that had to go through all of the studies that we provided to them, that everybody did, look at history, you know, all this stuff, the EPA definitions, you know, down to microns of how much mercury and blah, 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 all this other crap.
Mhm.
And then they give that to the board, and the board dictates. There's 5 people on this board, and they're all appointed by either Governor frickin' Brown or Governor Newsom, and they're the ones that control your fate. So they're the bad guys. So, but these scientists and stuff, they're really nonpartisan. We've worked with them ever since this whole bullcrap started. And I've never seen any political side to them at all. So having this thing, knowing that it is just purely political, we didn't want the miners to come out and attack the people that were presenting this. But
Right.
here's the bottom line, and this is kind of, I'll get to crux. I spoke for probably 25 minutes, but I'll get to the crux of what I spoke about. And that has to do really a lot with this map. So Jerry Clements and I know most of you guys know who Jerry is. He's our chief research officer. And Jerry and I, 2 years ago, August, we went to the water board and we met with two of the board of directors, a gentleman by the name of Phil Crater. I'm not sure what his position is. He seems like a nice guy. And then they had their head council attorney there. And anyway, so we're sitting there in the board and we were talking about all these different things in preparation for this whole draft proposal. And now, mind you, this is 2 years ago. And the director of the California Water Board, who had just been appointed by Governor Newsom, came out and said, well, we are going to have prohibitions on certain areas. And I says, okay, where? And she says, anywhere that there was historical mining.
Right.
And I looking around the room, I'm like, well, that's everywhere in the state. I go, they dug holes in every single creek, gully, ditch, drainage, river, lake, everywhere looking for gold because they had this perception that they thought gold was everywhere, that you could just pick it up off the ground. And she said, well, we know that we assume that all of the old time miners in the 1800s used mercury. And so we're just going to prohibit any form of dredging in all those areas. And I said, now, wait a minute. You just said that you're assuming that all of the miners in the 1800s used mercury. And so that's going to be the basis of you creating a prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, yes. And so we got into actually a little bit of a debate about that. And I said, well, I can tell you very specifically, like what I did on the call is, we've got 40 plus mining claims. I think I have personally, I don't know, a lot in the state. And there's not a single one of my claims that has mercury on it, not one. And I'm in some pretty big drainage that flow into some very large rivers. I'm up out of Yosemite. We are a part of that Merced drainage.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a single one of those spots up there that I've ever found mercury. So to make this a prohibition based on their feelings, that, oh, maybe somebody dug a hole and they used mercury. We're sure that they used mercury. So I asked them, have you ever done any studies on every single creek and waterway in the state to determine if there's mercury?
Mm-hmm.
No. Are you going to? No. So from a legal standpoint, where's the legality in that? Just because you don't like something doesn't give you the power to prohibit it by law. It just does not. And so that's really the crux of all of this whole process for me anyway, is it's absolutely a non-starter. If you can't dredge where the hell there's gold and where you own real property and pay property taxes on, then it needs to be opposed.
Yes.
So vehemently like it's never been before. This whole process needs to be opposed.
Yeah.
It's like calling the cops on your neighbor and saying, well, I think he did a crime.
Kind of.
Well, it's just ridiculous. And it pisses me off.
I am the king of Wickenburg, and I no longer like Rocky Road ice cream. It's banned for everything.
Pretty much. I guess so.
Okay.
It's that easy, Well,
Kevin made a good point too. I think when we talked a lot over the last week, is that I think it was Kevin that said this, that what they're going to end up doing is making a hell of a lot of criminal miners because, these people have a lot of money invested. They supplement their income and everything else. And people are going to go out and dredge, whether or not they can with a permit or whether they can't.
Right.
So this is a travesty of really of justice, in my opinion. Yeah. Where's the riots, right?
Right.
Maybe we should go burn a car up or something. I'm being facetious.
Yes, we understand.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I have to state that for the video, or the next thing you know, there's going to be a headline on Sacramento. The Shannon Post says burn cars down because they can't dredge. Whatever.
You're right. It just don't make no sense, but it figures, it's happening there. I think if it was anywhere else, this would have been over with. But because it's in California, it just keeps going on, and they just make the rules up as they go along.
Well, it ain't just in California. That stuff's leached into freaking Oregon, Washington, over to Idaho. It's the freaking whole freaking John Deere crap thing going on.
Right. But the worst seems to be in California, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's basically ground zero.
Right.
And that's where all of it started. And
Exactly.
you see supplements from other states all the way across it. But the most important thing to do, and as Shannon has so passionately said, this is a non-starter. There is nothing about this 11 years that we have been waiting for permits that makes this acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
No, it don't.
It's not prudent. There's nothing about it that makes sense. I'm
Certainly not fair.
No, it's definitely not fair, and I'm actually questioning the legality of it at this point.
See,
Sure.
in my opinion, I think they're just waiting. If they think if you go long enough and nothing ever happens, maybe they'll just forget about it. And
Right.
just quit.
Go away.
And I think that's what they're doing. That's
What if they just
that's
want
what I
to save
believe.
all the resources so that they can secede from the United States? That's what I think.
I will help build the frickin' fence.
Well, all we need to do is carve out a little of those coastal areas, and we'll keep the rest.
Yeah, good enough.
Things should fall in line.
But they-
I mean, pretty much, you're short of saying, Shannon, that if it is so political, then really, you got to almost, go out and organize to change who the representatives are, which is virtually impossible right now.
Well, you're leading down a rabbit hole. By the way, would you like to run off and make her a little princess crown out of tinfoil, or anyway, you're not going to change the politics here in California, at least not probably in the next decade, just simply because now they've got this mandatory vote by mail, which is ripe for fraud. And so they're really setting themselves up to try to just remain in power forever. They've already referred to themselves here in California as a nation state. So they're really trying to separate themselves from the United States because they hate Trump that much.
Until they need money.
Yes, and that's exactly where we're
Oh,
at.
you mean tomorrow morning when they're asking for federal funds to help take care of the destruction that was done on Rodeo Drive yesterday?
Rodeo.
They're asking for federal funds right now, and Newsom came out, I think it was yesterday, and said that unless Trump gives him federal money, they're going to start cutting the salaries of, I think, and laying people off, firefighters and cops.
Oh yeah, go with the important stuff. That's nice.
Yeah, let's go ahead and hold the state hostage.
Let's not really trim our budget. Let's just screw the.
How about we just cut the governor's paycheck? Let's see how far that goes.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could. But there is actually a solution to all of this stuff. And if you guys remember, we were talking about our trip to Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
3 days before Jerry and I were to fly out, I was flying out of Oakland. 3 days. That was Saturday. We were leaving Tuesday, and we were going to meet the senator in DC, meet the people that were going with us, and we had all these meetings and everything that set up. Secretary of the Department of Interior. We introduced this act, which we'll talk about in a little while. Literally 3 days before we were to fly out, and they shut this whole crap down because of the stupid scam that is this virus. So we didn't get to go. Otherwise, we may be having a completely different conversation right now.
Right.
So what this needs to be done is it needs to be changed at the federal level, and it really has to do with the EPA. The EPA can come out and make another announcement that determines and dedicates the fact that small scale suction dredging is de minimis or exempt, doesn't require an NPDES permit. And if they do that, that guts these other states like Idaho and Oregon and Washington and especially California. And so really now is the time to do that. And good God, we were 3 days away from getting there. And then they ripped this rug out from underneath us. So we've kept those communications line open. Obviously, we're working on that very much, and we're going to get back to DC here, hopefully sooner than later.
Right.
As soon as we can. As soon as Nancy Pelosi comes back to the Capitol and brings all of her members with her, But so I think that kind of stuff is going to blow over, and we'll be able to go and address that. Whether we can accomplish that, I guess, remains to be seen. I'm rather optimistic about it. The folks that we have talked to are most certainly understand and recognize the need for that to be done, and they agree with it. So, we'll see what happens. Right. But that's an answer, because I don't think you're going to be able to change the political landscape in California.
No, probably not.
No.
I agree. It's just, I don't know. But did they honestly think, Shannon, that just giving you guys permits in those areas was just going to satisfy you guys and say, oh, well, gee, thank you. Now we can dredge. Is that what they were thinking, honestly?
The level of arrogance that I have seen from the two board of directors that I have dealt with is beyond any level that I've ever seen. Okay. And you guys know me, I'm pretty outspoken, and I don't really care who I piss off. So when we did the protest at the Capitol, when we did this Walk for Liberty, we went to the water board and we protested there. It was about 60 of us yelling and from right outside their door, and shoot, you could see people 10 stories up. They were all filming us. We were filming them. And I mean, it just shut down the whole damn building. This is a huge building. So when we did that protest, I walked in and I asked to meet with the director, and they said she's unavailable. And I said, okay, how about Jonathan Bishop, who is the second in command? The guy looks just like Bernie Sanders. Probably voted for him too. Actually, I would imagine, I guarantee you he probably did. But anyway, so they were like, oh, he's unavailable and stuff. And so we were going in and out of the building a couple of times, and I look over by the elevator, and there's that Bernie Sanders looking dude. And so I call out his name, and we got our face-to-face with him. And the reason I'm bringing him up in this whole thing is to show you the level of arrogance. So I got a couple of state cops and some security guys because they think I'm some kind of an Antifa terrorist or something. All I want to do is to talk to the dude and go, where's our freaking permits, man? You had 1 year, it's been 4. Where's our permits? And so anyway, we go into this room, and the guy sits down in this chair and puts his feet up on the chair and does this shit.
What?
I'm not kidding you. And so I start asking some questions to this guy, and I says, the very first question I had was, are you guys still planning on prohibiting any areas that had legacy mining or that somebody dug a hole in 1851? And he's like, yeah, so. So that really pissed me off, and it only takes about that much of my fuse to be lit before it goes off. So I lean across the table and I'm like, dude, just lose the effing arrogance and condescension. You're supposed to be a public employee that works for the public, and you're supposed to be doing things that benefit the state. Right. What you're doing right now is your own political ideology, and this shit needs to stop. And so it actually kind of put him in check a little bit. And then I just basically lectured him for 15 minutes until I got angry and then left, because it was obvious that they weren't going to do anything. He wasn't going to answer any questions. And the sad part about it is, Tim, is these guys don't feel that they have to answer to you at all.
Right.
They do something really egregious, there's no ramifications. They don't get fired. They don't, half of them get a pat on the back if they shut some industry down, like logging or agriculture or mining. They wear that as a badge of honor.
Right. See, that's,
and it's a travesty.
It is.
Back in the day, didn't they have something like they called it getting ran out on a rail?
Well, you know what? There is something right now. There's accountability, and Shannon and I have had long conversations about accountability. And Shannon was sharing with me the whole thing that happened within the VA system. That can be put over to federal to some of these federal employees as well. But if we could get that into the state, you could really start pushing different things as well.
I don't think that you would get that passed at the state level.
No, you wouldn't.
Not in this state anyway. You probably could if you tried in Arizona. It would take a pretty concerted effort. So, but let me tell you about this act, because we have more problems with BLM and Forest Service really than we do any other agency, and more specifically a Forest Service. But if you really boil it down, I don't know how many tens of thousands of employees that the Forest Service has, but realistically, we have problems with, you could probably pick 20 people out of this 30,000 or 50,000 or 100,000, however many work with the Forest Service, and it's those 30 people that we continually have the problems. Montana, a couple in Arizona, you know, a few here in California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, but it's not a lot of people. So I think as a whole, the Forest Service is actually a fairly well-run organization. I think that they do a fairly good job, kind of ish. But so we were getting ready to do this trip, and I think it was in February, Kevin, that the San Bernardino show was.
Mhm.
Yeah, and anyway, so we were talking about what we were going to take to DC and give the senator, and it was Connie, our little tiny Connie. We're all sitting in this little rental house that we had down there for the show, and Connie was reading what's called the Veterans Administration Accountability and Whistleblower Act. And we're doing all this research and stuff on how many miners there are and mercury levels, and we're doing all this kind of stuff. And it was just really, all of us were on our computers, and Connie's like, hey, you guys need to listen to this thing. And so she starts reading it to us, and I don't remember who it was, probably her, that said, you know what if we took, and let me back up. So the VA Accountability Act, if you guys recall, under previous administrations, and it wasn't just Obama, although it kind of went hyperdrive in Obama, the VA, the veterans were treated like crap. And so they passed this Veterans Administration Accountability and Whistleblower Act that if you screw up in the VA and you operate outside the scope and course of your employment, and you do shit, you go rogue, you do things on your own, then you're fired. And you shouldn't have to pass a freaking act to have that happen. You should be able to fire somebody like that. But that's currently what was happening in the VA. So they passed this, and then they came along and they literally, and that was in 2017 under the Trump administration, and they literally fired thousands of people in the VA for that very thing. And it literally turned the culture around overnight. So Connie goes, well, what if we put the Forest Service where it says Veterans Administration, and man, light bulbs are popping on, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And so I called the chief of staff the next day. I think, yeah, it was the next day because I was at the Gold Show, and told him about that. He called the senator, and the senator just went, holy crap, this is the best thing ever since sliced bread. How come we didn't think of this? This is how we get accountability in the BLM and the Forest Service, and holy shnikey, everything blew up, and it was just overwhelmingly received. That senator took it and proposed it to some other senators, and then they found out that this passed with unanimous consent on the VA Act, and the Democrats would vote for it, and it was like, okay. And then we were excited to go to DC, and of course that got shut down. So this Public Lands Accountability Act is specifically that. So if you've got a Forest Service that knowingly comes out and harasses a miner, closes his road, or denies you the plan of operations and things like that, they lose their job and they lose their pension.
Great.
Now it's got teeth. Now you can impact that. And so that's one of the things that we're gonna be doing when we go back there. But you know, these state levels, guys, is that without having politicians that truly represent you, it's pretty difficult to get that stuff done. And you'll never get that done in this state under this climate.
Yeah, it's just crazy, you know?
Well, unless you're the Sierra Club, then you can dredge all you want.
Yeah, where the gold is.
Sierra Fund.
Sierra Fund.
By the way, they're getting another couple of $1 million grant, I heard.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, maybe they'll go and pull another gram of mercury for 5 or 6 million.
Maybe. We need more equipment, probably.
With a Canadian dredge. Oh man.
Oh,
Somebody asked a question. I can't find it. Okay, Shannon, real quick. Why Gold wants to know what's up with Montana and mining. Are they trying to pull the same act as California?
Well, it's not the state. It's you tired there, Rich? You popped up big screen yawning. I'm sorry. It's not the state of Montana, although I think that they're state representative and even the senator are a little weak when it comes to mining. It's the Forest Service, and it's two different pockets of just a handful of people in Montana that are causing a lot of the problems for the miners. We get more complaints out of that state than any of the other states in the union, period. Simple little Montana. The two showcases that we have, the cases that we are taking to Washington, D.C., that this is why we need the act, both of the cases are coming from Montana, and they involve the same district ranger and the same Forest Service supervisor. They hate mining, and that's the thing, is since there's no accountability, they just go, you know what, I don't care. We're not going to open the road. You're not going to get to use this road to your claim. We're just going to close it. And they'll go and put up a gate and a lock. Right. And then it doesn't matter what you do. They'll just go, oh, F you. No. Really? Because here's federal law. Well, no, we're just no.
It just don't
really.
Matter.
Let's go ahead and throw. Hey, when you finally get back there, let's go ahead and throw my case in there as well.
Yeah. Now that was. I mean, see, this is truly astounding. And this is Kevin contacted me about 2 weeks ago about his case, where you've got a new adjudicator in the BLM that believes that it's her job to interpret laws now and then apply her own political belief into that interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually took claims away from Kevin Hoagland based on the fact they said that he was ineligible to own any mining claims because he works for a corporation, and the corporation can only have 20-acre claims, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So anyway, Kevin is disallowed to own any mining claims because he works for that corporation and some of his claims are bigger than 20 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that this you're all scratching your heads because that's what we were doing. And our attorney was scratching our head going, yeah, that's just not true. So, but that's the point I guess Kevin was trying to make here. And we have example after example after example. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a guy in Nevada today about that. Is that you get these agents that work for these particular agencies that just, they get drunk with power or something. And they just believe that it's their job to control your life. And you see that with some of these mayors and governors and things right now. They literally get drunk with power and they never, ever want to give it up.
You see that with a lot of people.
They were all the kids that were bullied. Now look.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this particular adjudicator in the state of Arizona is just absolutely run amok. I mean, it's gotten to, interpretation of the CFR 40, CFR 43, 46, in 40, all of them. I mean, it's an interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a code of federal regulations.
Their job is not to interpret. Their job is to apply the law as written.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So not only, so it was just, and it was interesting because there was one thing that came out of this. I was talking to the attorney the other day, and I just, there's a part of me that just has laughed at this since the very beginning.
Sure.
And especially when another person, and I'm just share this little part of it with you, that he had a bunch of claims. He had more than 10 claims.
Mm-hmm.
And he had quit claimed some of his claims over so he could keep keep some of the other ones in and keep them within the small miners, which means 10 or below. Well, he'd quit claim some claims over. Unfortunately, the filing of the claims, the yearly filings, actually beat the quit claims.
Okay.
So at that point, he's an association. He had over 10 claims. So she voided all of his claims.
All of them.
All of them. But not only did she do that, there was somebody that was associated with him that had their own claim, that their name was on one of his claims. She voided his claims too.
Really? Oh. But she's just doing what she wants. I mean, plain and simple. She's just making up the rules as she goes along.
Yeah. But I laughed. When I was in the conversation with the attorney, we were going over everything, and he would ask me a question asked me the same question again. And as we went further down, and I was sharing with him all the steps and everything that's happened, he said, well, do you think that this isn't fair? And I stopped for a moment. And this is kind of the new mindset that I've had, because it has nothing to do whether it's, do you think that this was unfair? You know what? I don't care if it was unfair. Unfair is an emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to stand there and say this was unfair, I'm having an emotional response. The bottom line is I'm not going to have an emotional response. What she did is wrong.
Right.
It's
illegal.
Wrong.
And illegal.
And illegal. So I have just basically on almost all of this at this point, I'm passionate, but you're not going to see a lot of that passion.
Okay.
What you're going to see is just fact. I'm tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this for 11 years of all of this crap that's going on in California. I'm sick and tired of seeing what's going on in other places. It's not a matter of being right or wrong or unfair. It's wrong or unfair. It's right and wrong and legal and illegal. That's it.
Yeah, it's unjust.
It's so black and white. And it's interesting that an attorney that baited me to ask me if it was unfair. And thank you, Shannon. The guy's wonderful.
Yes.
It's just that simple. And there's so many things that I've done nothing since Thursday, aside from working on a bunch of claims work. I've done nothing but just go into case law and study, going back on all of this that's going on in California. And I've got dozens of pages of notes.
By the way, he was a fighter pilot in the Air Force.
Was he really?
Yeah. He didn't brag. He's really good attorney. He's one of those conservative rural areas that the guy has an incredible, intellect. And he's also pretty humble about himself, but the guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we brought up in the meeting with the water board on Thursday was really, I was trying to define what a takings was, because what we're seeing here, in my opinion, is the very definition of a takings. And that is, we all are property owners. We're all mining claim owners in the state here. And what they have done is, since our mining claims have all of our valuable mineral deposits are underwater, and they have prohibited us from obtaining those minerals underwater, not just by suction dredging, but by any mechanized or mechanical means. We can't use that, or it's labeled as a suction dredge and you have to get a permit, to which they prohibit it being in that area. That all of those mining claims are going to be rendered worthless.
Sure.
So think about how many mining claims are in the state of California and how much gold is there that is basically just worthless now.
Yeah, but isn't mechanized mean it has actual moving parts? I don't believe High Banker's got that.
Oh God. Oh, here we go.
Suction
Just
dredge.
saying.
It's mechanized, mechanical, or compound.
Get it, Scott?
Not
Everything.
really.
A post hole digger's a suction dredge to them.
Do you want to go take an airline off of a little air tank sitting on the side of the bank that's battery operated and run it through a mouth valve to do a hookah dive in crevices?
Scott wants a squircle.
That valve
Right.
is a compound.
See?
I've been looking at all of this. That valve that allows you to breathe out and allows air to come in off of your unit is a hookah, or is a compound.
So
Here's the problem, guys, that we're arguing semantics on mechanisms and mechanical engineered type of things. What it boils down to, again, is feelings. It's kind of like when we called the water board out, is on their feelings that they assume somebody dug a hole. It makes them feel bad that somebody could have possibly polluted back then. Okay, just everything's banned. So what we're going to have to rely on is, and they have said that they're going to create a new enforcement division of the California Water Board. They're new brown shirts, apparently. And then you've got the Department of Fish and Wildlife that has an enforcement division. What you're going to be relying on is you're not going to get the option to argue semantics with an enforcement officer out in the field. First of all, it's prohibited on your mining claim anyway. But the thing is even with a mechanized little breathing apparatus, do you think that, Officer Stevens standing there in front of you, when he's been told nothing is allowed, do you think that he's just going to let you go? No, you're going to end up in court and it's going to be argued. And then you go through the whole bullshit process in California again, where you get kangaroo courts, activist judges, the Ninth Circuit, and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so this is designed to shut mining down in the state of California, at least for suction dredging and things of that nature.
Well, they want to stop it all where there's any gold at.
Yeah, and I think that they have done that effectively with this, although in my opinion, it's illegal, and it also exposes them to a pretty extreme liability due to the fact that they didn't use any science, nothing that is provable, and they admitted that on this recorded call, that it was all based off of their assumption.
But I thought
the assumption isn't scientific fact.
Wait, I thought you always had to have proof. Yeah. I thought that's what it's all about. You got to be able to prove it.
Yeah. That's kind of funny that you bring that up, Tim, because I read yesterday, Trump did another executive order just this last week that actually talks specifically about that. And it was there's a couple of things that he's done recently in rolling back regulation and stuff. But the problem is that's at the federal level. Well, the argument could be made that since the California Water Board has a MOU, a memorandum of understanding with the EPA to enforce the EPA's guidelines, that they're following federal law. So theoretically, that could impact that coming down to the state. But guys, we're talking about California here, where our governor just gave a car manufacturer in China that went bankrupt $1 billion to make masks, and then told the Californians, screw you, you don't need to know why, and no details, and refused to give anybody any information about it. Well, that's my money, man. So that's the thing, is that I can't wait to get to DC and start to addressing some of this crap,
It's all crazy. It makes my head spin sometimes. It don't make no sense to me. They just
sounds like a class action lawsuit to me in this state. The one that can be successful.
Right.
It's a challenge though, because even the state of California doesn't even follow federal law on other things. Anything they disagree with, they refuse to follow the federal law.
Oh, you mean like the marijuana laws in sanctuary cities?
Oh, exactly. Everything. I mean, yeah.
Just everything.
You have a right to vote by mail.
By mail, yeah. And so does everyone at every cemetery.
We don't want to step on the rights of the Californians to vote by mail. And we'll mail to your house 800 voter things, and you can distribute those to who needs them. Okay.
I look at it this way. You could stand in line at Walmart, you can stand in line at Costco, you can stand in line at Sam's Club. I can stand in line to vote, period.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
So I can get arrested if I go to church, but if I go and bust into the Target store and rip the frickin' ATM out of the wall, I'm good to go.
All right. Yeah.
Just trying to keep up on the rules here.
They change. The rules are changing like hourly. So
See,
you get that
you
memo,
made a
Shannon?
mistake back at the water board when you guys were protesting there. You should have made them thought you were Antifa. You might have been well received at that point. So, I mean, come on.
All right. Now that we have the NSA listening to every word on this podcast because of all the keywords that have been thrown out in the last 5 minutes, way to go, Shad.
Oh, don't worry. Bring it on. My address is.
Listeners, right, Shad?
Yeah, I know. Just be sure to like and subscribe. That's all we ask.
Yeah, there's a knock at the door.
Is it just me, or does everybody else think Shad's probably on a lot of lists anyway?
Probably.
Don't worry about lists. Yeah, because I'm on all of them already. So
just wants us all to join him. So that's all. No biggie.
What are you drinking? Is that like a warm glass of cat urine or what?
Glenlivet Founders Reserve today. Scotch.
Oh, okay.
It's his flavor of the week.
Yeah.
Nightcap.
Nightcap.
Evening cap. Now
Just a little drum.
that's
I like
shit.
that word nightcap, but mine always starts at 3. I don't get it.
God.
You're
Now-
still in Indiana time. That's why, Scott.
Maybe you're right.
That's got to be it. Now, Shannon, Don Wendt asked a question. Is there any chance or hope of getting the ability to use a pump for a gold cube soon?
Well, that's a good question. That was actually asked. And I'm assuming he's referring to California, and I know who Don is.
Right.
Is things like that should just be exempt. I mean, good golly, a little 12-volt pump to run a gold cube.
Yeah.
We want to prohibit that in all areas in the entire freaking motherlode. That's the absurdity that I think if you put something like that in front of a jury,
Okay.
what would they say? Here's people that have mining claims that pay the money, that have found gold, and they're helping out the California economy and all these things. Yet they're saying that because he runs this little tiny water pump, that's going to kill people or pollute the world or whatever, when there's no science or facts. I think any jury in the world, even a liberal jury, would probably go, wait, something is really wrong here. Because
Yeah, you walk in the court with a motorcycle battery and a 750 pump with a hose and a couple of alligator clips. Really?
Yeah, right.
Well, if they really cared about the environment, they wouldn't have spent $1 billion for face masks from a factory in China.
Yeah.
Just-
True. Good point.
You know what, Shannon, I got a question for you. Now, I know there's still big mines in California that are working. Are they under the same stupid rules as we are, or are they under,
No, they're not. And that's, you're talking about placer and load mining. They're two different things.
Yeah.
There's certain regulations and things on the big mining companies, but they don't really give a crap about the small miners. They would prefer that the small miners disappear anyway, because then they
Completely.
can take their lands. They have all the money to give to the politicians and make the donations, blah, 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 and circumvent and get carve outs and crap and all that. Look at what Izzy Martin's doing. She's the only one that's dredging in the state of California. And now they want to expand that into other waterways that she wants to dredge.
Sure.
I mean, you want to talk about hypocrisy, but I want to go back to Don's question, because I don't think I fully answered that, is that I would like to think, Don, that the California Water Board, I mean, they recognize that this is really, truly absurd. And I can't tell you how I know that. Kevin knows, because I called him today. But I know that, with the exception of the board of directors, the California Water Board thinks that this is bullcrap, and that things like this, high bankers or dry washers that are used in the desert, to couple those in and to have them under this umbrella of a prohibition because of no facts, no science, and this blanket map that they drew, they know that it's absurd. So I think if they open it back up to where we have public meetings, we will create a presentation and a video that is going to blow you away. I'm already working on that right now. And don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
Let me just put it to you this way, is we're going to show
Stop.
We're going to expose some things.
Stop.
We're going to expose some things. And I'm going to do it as a surprise. How's that?
All right.
Hey, I think, and I've been considering this. I think I'm going to go ahead and file for a waiver for 12 volt for a 2,000 gallon per hour pump.
Good. I would.
Yeah. So, there's something else Don can try to do, and it might be a little ridiculous in the long run, but hey, why not?
Now, Shannon, I heard you say dry washers. They're banging on dry washers too?
That's mechanized. Mechanized or motorized, bro. That's a suction dredge. That generator that you want to use in the desert at night to run the lights so you can scrape out a crack with a freaking crevice tool, that's a dredge, buddy. Can't have it there.
I guess
somebody tackle that man. Shad, tackle him.
I guess what's next is going to be side-by-sides, right? Because they ride through the desert and they got motors.
That is absolutely a suction dredge, because if it conveys you, if that is used as a method of conveyance to take you to an area where you are going to be prospecting or mining, that is a suction dredge.
Because it aids you in the ability to process minerals.
Here's an honest question about that then, technically. Okay, so you have the miner who's out at campsite using a generator to power lights to find gold. That's illegal. What if you have the naturist, the explorer who's out camping and has a generator to run their little mini fridge and cocktails? Are they okay? Or are they?
They're not dredging. They're not mining.
Gold. They're not mining.
So yeah, they're not mining.
Exactly.
They're out to hug a cactus and look at a tree and.
See, here's the hypocrisy of it. If you own, let's say that you own a mining claim next to a piece of private property, okay, and you find a placer deposit literally on the fence line of the private property owner and where your mining claim is. He can come along with a post hole digger and dig a hole and put a post in the ground. You can go 3 feet from there with that post hole digger, and if you put it in the ground and then you pan out that material, that's a suction dredge, and they take your equipment and you're fined $1,000.
Dang.
That's an expensive post hole digger.
Well, why do you think they're showing up with AR-15s? You know, I never seen Yogi Bear's guy freaking have an AR-15.
Ranger Rick.
Joe Biden says they're AK-15s and AR-41s.
That's a whole nother topic, though, about the militarization of our law enforcement and federal agents.
Yeah.
So we won't go there tonight.
I don't need a guy to show up that looks like a freaking fully vested SWAT team guy telling me, hey, you got to be careful. You got to put a fire ring around that, okay? I'm like, really? It's stuff's getting stupid.
It's ridiculous is what it is.
Now, Shannon, can you guys, I mean, hey, remember what the old buzzard said? We could vote them out. All right, you don't think that, yeah, I was going to say, you don't think you could get them voted out or no?
In this state?
I don't know.
You better put a bunch of forwarding requests to all the mail-in votes to all the addresses so you get them all, then you can vote that way.
This last election, and this is so reprehensible, it makes me laugh. So this last election, you know, Republicans actually took back a couple of seats and they were winning pretty handily in a couple of the other districts down here. And then lo and behold, and it was actually even after election day, they're like, holy crap, there's like 5 Republicans that won these seats. What are we going to do? Oh, well, guess what? Again, there were boxes of votes that were found in trunks that they forgot to count. And so when they counted them, the Democrats actually won. I'm not making this up. That's true.
So the 2 Republican seats that were won?
No, those are still good. It's the other 3 that they were leading in right after that. No, those they lost those. Yeah, and they were all mail-in ballots.
Of course,
freaking trash.
So
until somebody uncovers that fraud and people really, and there have been quite a few people that have gone to jail because of voter fraud, but until that really gets exposed in this state, you're not going to win an election in this state, man.
You know, what's really funny is because when it's 2016, when Trump was getting voted in, and this is no joke, folks. I mean, I still got proof. I could look up the news thing today. And what was funny is because on Channel 10 News, which I follow and like a lot, you know, I like the guys on there and they're really pinpoint accurate. It was so funny because, you know, when they said da-da-da, and remember when it was that was the year that they were trying to do the legalized marijuana in Arizona and all that. This is no joke. The story on the news the next morning was legalized marijuana was voted out. Didn't have enough votes. You know, it was canceled out. The very next story was, look how many of these mail-in ballots we haven't even counted yet. I'm like, now how could you vote it out if you ain't counted the ballots yet? It was like 1 and 2 stories. I'm like, now something's not right. If you didn't count all the mail-in ballots, how can you say, which, I don't care one way or another about the whole pot thing. I don't give a king. But I was just thinking, they said, no, it got shut down. It's still going to be not legal. And then the very next story in the news was, look how many boxes of uncounted mail-in ballots, which one of them was mine, is not even been counted yet. And I'm thinking that's kind of dirty on a whole new level. I don't get it, but it just proved to me that it doesn't count.
I think the COVID second wave will be coming around November. Oh,
You mean when the flu hits again?
Actually, they're saying that it's going to start almost immediately.
Yes, it'll come well before the election, but it'll miraculously end right after the election.
Yes.
But then that's the second wave of riots.
Yeah.
You think
Well,
it's
I
bad
guess
now? See what happens when Trump wins in November.
Yeah. So Shannon, all right, we've talked about a lot of the problems, things you are working. As far as all the small scale miners, listeners to the show, everybody out there who wants to dig and find gold, what can they do at this point, especially if they live in some of these states?
tan?
Well, nothing in California.
Well, I mean, what can they do to help?
Scott, please don't have that attitude. This is something that Shannon and I talk about on a constant basis, and just saying nothing in California is what's causing a lot of the problem. It really is. Not scolding you, brother. Not scolding you. But
No, I remember when I moved out here, my biggest thing was I couldn't wait to go to California to go dredging, and the very next year they cut it off. It was illegal. I'm like, what?
But it seems like you can't do nothing there, Kevin. That's
Well, let's take a step back and go back to Shad's question, and then I think it is important. Maybe Kevin and I talk about the topic. One of the topics we really wanted to talk about, and that's the demoralization and the apathetic things that we're seeing going on now. But
the hell happened?
In reference to what people can do now, you got to get involved, whether it's in your own state or whether it's helping out other miners in other states, or even the agriculture department or the timber industry or the ranching or hunters or fishermen. Guys, the more people that you start uniting with and start forming these alliances with, the more powerful that the public becomes. And, many of you may not know this. As I flew up to Oregon a few months ago, it was kind of when the whole virus BS was kind of just kicking off. They asked me to fly up there and speak at the Timber Unity rally at the state capitol in Salem, Oregon. It's actually my hometown. And the logging industry was being attacked by the far left progressive governor that they've elected up there, Kate Brown. And she was trying to impose all these new regulations on diesel engines, and it was going to put all the timber industry basically out of business. And it was one logger that stepped forward and tried to meet with them at the Capitol, and they thought he was a transient, and they kicked him off. And it just all got really crappy. And so he formed a Facebook page, which blossomed into this amazing movement of people in the state of Oregon. It wasn't just timber, it was the ranchers and the ag beat. All of them came together. So they asked me, they said they were having this big protest rally at the Capitol. And when I flew up there, I walked over to the Capitol at about 8:30 that morning. The rally was supposed to start at 9. And all I could hear from probably a half a mile away were giant air horns from the log trucks that had backed up from the state capitol 22 miles down I-5. There were over 10,000 people there. That killed that bill. That's how you change things. That's how you get involved. That's how you can do something if you want to know what to do, is start getting involved in not just the mining related issues, but all of these things. And then bring them in when you have a fight. Say, look, dude, I went and supported you when you had your crap going on. We got crap going on right now. I need your help, and I need the help of all your friends. That's how you make change. So going back to what can we do here in California right now, we're really kind of, in my opinion, we're really kind of in a holding pattern. I'm going to be making a call to them tomorrow and making a recommendation based on all of the people that we represent, as well as the GPAA and all of their tens of thousands of members, and all of the people that we've had respond to our poll on whether we postpone this till we can have public meetings. We're in that delay period right now, and I hope that they delay these meetings. If they don't, all hell's going to break loose, because I'll tell you what, we had 50 people that went and protested that water board building last time. I'm going to bring a hell of a lot more than that next time if they don't allow us to speak to these people in person. So right now, yeah, we're kind of in a holding pattern. I think that they'll probably announce this crap, but to be honest with you guys, I have a feeling that this governor in this state is probably going to try to keep this lockdown somewhat until the election. I just, because it's all political.
Mhm.
So what can they do now? Well, you could support any and all of these fights going on, really. And then when we get to the point where we have movement and we have things going on here in California, we'll publicize the hell out of this when those public meetings happen. And then we'll probably live broadcast that as well ourselves. During those meetings, we'll testify. I'm going to make a hell of a video for this, folks, and you're not going to want to miss that. So right now, I guess that I hope that answers the question, Shad.
Yeah.
I think I want to add something to that. And Shannon and I have had a lot of conversations based around the demoralization and the apathy of all of this going on. And it has been very demoralizing for the people in California and all around the United States. It's not just people that live in California that want to dredge in California. And just the demoralization has created a certain level of apathy. And this is what I was saying earlier about, I've basically removed my passion, my feelings on this. It's all about being right and wrong. You know, it's not about this is unfair. It's about this is wrong. And if you're feeling apathetic, if you're feeling demoralized, I ask you that you just adopt that this is wrong. And that's all I'm going to stand up and say, this is wrong. And I'm going to continue to say this is wrong and say this is wrong. And not that I have I have an emotional connection to this. It really is, apathy starts with that emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing that needs to be removed from this. This is wrong. What happened in California, what's happening in California is wrong. What's happened in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, these other states, Colorado to some extent, what's going on with Montana, with the Forest Service, these things are wrong. And it's now really time to circle and figure out how to relieve these, how to remedy these issues. And that's, Shannon's been working on this and for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And they're go ahead.
Can I add something here? Some of you guys know that we do what we call a wounded veterans outing, and we don't publicize it. We don't take pictures. We don't do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, guys, I've been doing this for many, many years. You know that. I get to the point where I get pretty frustrated, and it's like, I've had those conversations with myself. Why the hell am I even doing this anymore? What I do is I go back to, and I mean this sincerely to Shad, is I go to the things that I have done with veterans. I didn't serve. I wanted to. I was too stupid, Shad. They wouldn't let me in. No, there was another reason, but it was medical. But anyway, I look at, and I've been to the Veterans Administration hospitals before, and all it takes, guys, is to go and look at what these guys have done, and girls, for you and your country, to be able to say the shit that we say on this radio program or in public or to protest. Look at the sacrifices they have made. And you want to give up because you got some stupid perfect hair attorney in Sacramento telling you can't do that because he might hurt his feelings. You going to give up because of that? That's all I think about. I look at these guys and girls and go, well, what I do is insignificant compared to them. But you know what? They didn't give up, and so neither am I. My 2 cents.
Oh, it's a good way to look
Yeah.
at it. You know?
Yeah. We have to kill the apathy now. If you're, it has to end. It
Mhm.
has to end, and it has to end now. And it has to end with just standing up and saying this is wrong.
Yeah.
Right now we have this whole thing. Shannon is going to push very, very hard for the postponement of all of this.
Now,
Bit of it.
what's that link? Do you got that link where people can click and vote on that, Shannon?
It's just on our Facebook page.
It's over on your Facebook page,
Yeah,
American.
I did a post yesterday. Actually, I've done a couple over the last couple of days, but we did one yesterday that just kind of outlines that.
Mhm.
I'm not making the decision on behalf of the small miners.
Right.
I'm asking the small miners for input on what they would like, and then we will relay what they want to the water board. And right now it's running 99% want a postponement.
Okay.
From Delta Gold Diggers, the GPAA, to AMRA, to all of the
Bob.
people. Bob, yeah. So I mean, it just makes sense. Why would you want to have them jam a permit through right now, where they sit behind a computer screen, probably flipping you off underneath their keyboard, when you can't dredge anywhere where there's gold?
Right.
Or water.
Let us work with this, and let's put some pressure on them. And there's a lot of things that we can do in the interim before they open this up for public comment. And then, you know what? Get off your ass when they do the public comments. I don't care if it's in Bakersfield, San Bernardino, Fresno, or Sacramento. Get off your ass and go down there and let these people know specifically what you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. So, don't
If you don't get up, it's not going to help.
you can't settle for what they're offering you right now. It'd be crazy.
Stupid.
Just foolish is what it is. Because
Hey,
Shannon,
here's your California driver's license. But by the way, you can't use any roads to drive on.
pretty much that's what it sounds like.
Awesome.
That's a good way to put it.
It is. It's
That's a good way to put it. Here's your license, but you can't drive on the road.
Aren't they outlawing trucks?
I'm sorry.
Aren't they outlawing trucks soon, like in California?
No, put your princess aluminum foil crown back on. I'm sorry. Where did you hear that, Kathleen? They're not outlawing trucks.
Okay.
They want to do this whole green energy bullshit, but it's just the utopia.
I think there was bills being proposed to put restrictions on large scale vehicles operating.
Diesel. It's diesel engines.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I meant.
Yeah,
Well,
they want
let's see. If they do that, what's the rappers with the Hummers going to do?
the diesel engines they want to do away with, but they want to do away basically with all forms of internal combustion engines by 2050 anyway.
Why would they want to get rid of all the diesel engines in the state of California when that little tax stamp that's on the side of every semi that shows that the diesel motor meets and exceeds the California, what is it?
EPA standards, yeah.
Yeah,
The EPA standard. Oh, that's right. That's a federal law. I'm sorry, I forgot. Doesn't matter.
And it's also because, Kevin, all of these politicians have a hell of a lot of stock that they have purchased in Tesla batteries.
Yeah, true.
No?
And Tesla's getting ready to move.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean the battery that uses all of that?
The mine stuff.
Yeah, all that mine stuff and the toxicity.
We'll get
Which
that
is-
from China. Don't worry about
Well, that's
that.
no
Don't worry.
different. They don't want you to, butcher your own meat. You go to the store to get it. That's humane.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
just see the end product. They don't care about how it's made. They just
Yeah, I love getting a ribeye in California where it's been irradiated and everything else. Before it ever
they
comes out.
import it from China. Come on, let's be honest.
That's
I
true.
had a buffalo steak last week for the first time.
That's
Pretty
good,
good,
isn't it?
It was very, very lean, and you can't cook it like you do a normal steak. It was like a New York. So I freaking I kicked my Traeger up to like 460 or something like that, threw it on there, and I don't know, I was watching TV or something. I went back and it was really good jerky, in my opinion. So apparently you can't cook that stuff very long. It's still pink in the middle, but man, that was tough as hell. It was good flavor.
Flip, plate. That's,
Apparently. Mm-hmm.
Hey, and Scott, I know earlier when you said something about dry washing and so on, there are very specific rules and regulations in California, and a lot of this is based on 300 feet. 300 feet from an active water channel and so on like that. But there's still a lot of things you can do outside of the 300 feet of an active channel.
All right.
So it's not like there's nothing you can do in California, and that's one thing that I really want to make sure that we're talking about dredging, we're talking about all of this, but there are a lot of different things that you can still do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I see. I mean, I got videos like on YouTube. So like Tommy Two Toes is a great sniper and stuff like that. You can go sniping. I know there's things you could do. It's just I still got the salty taste in my mouth. Like I said, I moved out here for one reason. I actually wanted to live here in Arizona, but go to California and actually dredge. And I moved out here, and it was just like the year or just within the year, they closed it down and made it illegal. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this is what I moved out here to go do. And they just went shut it down, and it's like everything was illegal. Like
Scott, I got three places I can take you to go dredging tomorrow in Arizona. And there's gold on them.
There is the Oregon Supreme Court case that is still on their desk. We just got an update on that a couple of days ago, and it has to do with all of this stuff. And it's gotten a lot more attention because the Supreme Court has actually asked some questions of the state, clarifying. They've asked them to clarify some of their positions, which is a really good sign that maybe they are considering taking up that case. And if that's if they do actually do it, then I think it's a really good case to take to them. I think it's one that the miners would win, and that would be a game changer as well. So.
It's just funny because even when I was a kid, California was known for two things, even as a kid, even studying history or anything: beaches and gold mining. That's the two things California was known for.
Yeah.
Just set up a decoy dredge with Manny so they get distracted and target Manny, and then you can go dredge somewhere else. All right.
That sounds like a plan, actually. It's not a bad idea.
Are you still playing with dolls?
No, I got everybody. I don't know if you know about this, Shannon, but everybody on the GPS website, the people that listen, donated money one night and bought Swiftwater a mannequin.
It was a joke one night. I made a comment about it, Manny the mannequin, and it just kind of.
I've never seen anybody raise so much money so fast in my life.
Over $300 and like.
I get that, but the thing that actually concerns me is seeing all the pictures of you playing with your big doll and dressing it and things like that.
Right.
It's one thing to get somebody, hey, here's a joke, and you laugh, and then everybody kind of goes away and it goes in the garbage can. But dude, you've been like doing what with this doll for now a year?
Dude, there it is. It ain't me. This was Tim's idea, buddy. This is all Tim and Shad. These guys were manipulators.
No, it all started when we were talking about, things you can do with your equipment when you're done mining to keep it, fresh.
The hell is that for equipment? Okay, go ahead.
This is good.
I think that this is going to have to be.
Hang on.
Look, the story started by the mannequin legs.
Everybody quiet. Let the princess speak.
She's a queen.
Oh, excuse me, the queen.
So we were talking about ways to store your equipment to keep it, fresh for the next coming season and stuff. And Scott said, well, your wetsuits, you can put put them in mannequin legs to help.
No, your waiter.
And hang them up to dry.
Yeah.
And I was like, who has a mannequin laying around?
That does now.
No, like what it was in the old days, they were talking about your waiters. And I thought, well, I know people that used to have mannequin legs. They just put them over, like, and hang them, and they would dry out outside over old mannequin legs you can find in the store. And it just amplified from there. And then look who I got here.
I don't have any friends that do that. I don't
Hey,
know anybody
We
that
make
does
things
that.
work, baby.
I'm almost
I
60.
don't know anybody
I
that
am,
owns a mannequin.
I am pushing 60
Exactly my
years.
point, like, who has mannequin legs?
I am pushing 60 years old, and I don't know anybody that's got a mannequin legs, a mannequin hand, or a mannequin head.
That
You
does.
need to put a whole article about this in the GPA magazine next edition.
I was gonna say you do now, because I own now a whole mannequin.
Dude,
But-
you ain't right.
Enormous. It's huge.
That's just
It's
That's
his
just-
partner, Kevin.
Hey, I didn't buy it, Kevin. Everybody chipped in, and Tim bought the dang thing in one night.
We sent it to him in the mail.
You know, I didn't have a choice. It just showed up at the campground where I was
hold
going.
on. You shipped that in the mail?
Yeah.
Amazon.
It's like 80 pounds.
Amazon, baby.
Freaking coffin?
It's like 7 foot tall.
How do you ship a mannequin?
Dude, it was like the head and the torso is all one thing. The arms are both two different. The legs are all one because they got to stand there. Can't do anything. So it's not a fun dummy, but it's just a mannequin.
I mean, look at the size comparison on the video next to Scott.
Kathleen, can I borrow some of your aluminum foil? I feel like I need it now.
Is
I
it
don't
anatomically
understand the
correct?
oil thing. Explain.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Why did you ask that? Why did you
I
even
don't
go
understand.
Not you. Not you.
Oh.
Shannon.
Nobody heard that one, Kevin.
Probably need to move on to a different topic.
Well, that's what's mine.
So let's go. Let's say something. When and Scott, I want to comment on something you said. Beaches and gold.
Yeah.
Beaches and gold. That's what California is known for. One of the shocking things to me is that when we were in front of the Senate, what was it, 2 years ago for SB 637, Shannon was standing there. Was it 4 years ago that we were
Actually,
there?
5.
That we were in front of?
2015.
All right. So we're all sitting there, and Shannon is speaking, and he makes a remark about the seal of the great state of California that has the sailing ships and the Bear and the Conquistador and the Miner. And I'm telling you this, and I'm not going to make a political statement between Republican and Democrat, but the flag, the state seal is above over here. And 6 of the people that were in that room that were not Republican all did this.
Oops.
They're gonna change it now.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Yeah,
we
that's
all
what
know
I
they
said.
like to be
Oh, that's
right.
gotta go.
It was shocking. I mean, and it was shocking to see that many people that supposedly look at that seal of that seal of the state of California every day.
Yeah.
Right. And had no.
And they have no clue as to there's a guy with a pick and a shovel and a rocker box and a gold pan and you know,
That's right.
it was shocking to me. But it was that
Shannon, maybe that could be your next argument. Walk in with a flag and say, you know what? Why are you against this guy on the flag? I just don't understand it.
Yeah. That's what founded that state.
I mean, yeah, why not? If they say anything, if they say anything after you say that, they're an ignorant idiot.
They are ignorant idiots. We already know that.
Yeah. That's the one thing we do know.
Yeah.
God. You know what? Let's take a quick break.
Let's
Thank
do it.
Real quick, and we'll be right back.
Are we still live when you go to break or?
Oh, yeah. Enjoy a nice crack in the bedrock. Enjoy getting outdoors to camp, fish, hunt, and hike on your public lands. You plan your trip, load the gear, grab the dog, put the family in the truck, and drive off to a locked gate. The sign says you cannot enter or access your own public lands. Mining claims and public land owned by we the people are being designated as off limits by our own government every single day. Are you concerned about the direction our government is going? Are you tired of seeing no access, no entry signs on your lands? We are, and we are fighting back. We are AMRA, America Mining Rights Association, the fastest growing small mining advocacy association in America. AMRA is a 501c3 not-for-profit formed by miners, hunters, off-roaders, retired military men and women to stop the insanity. AMRA was formed to educate, unite, and help the small miners and public land users on their rights given to us by God. Do you want access to great mining claims? For a small tax-deductible donation to their miners' legal fund, your family gains access to proven excellent mining claims across America for an entire year. AMRA challenges the USFS, BLM, EPA, and the other agencies intent upon stopping you from enjoying your own lands. You are who pays these people's wages. It is time they listen to us. We need to unite. And that is what AMRA is doing. As you sit here right now, thousands of acres of public lands are being closed, locked, and blocked from use by you. Are you fed up yet? Join us. Get in on this fight and let's restore America to what our families fought and died for. Freedom. Just visit AmericanMiningRights.com. AmericanMiningRights.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at American Mining Rights Association. AmericanMiningRights.com.
In 1858, gold was discovered in the rivers of New Caledonia. This discovery would spark a massive gold rush. Today, the search for gold is much easier, yet still challenging with Dirt Hog Pay Dirt. At Dirt Hog, we pride ourselves on our gold and guaranteed gold amounts. Just visit DirtHogPayDirt.com today and buy yourself a bag of the best pay dirt concentrates on the market. Order with confidence in Canada and North America. DirtHogPayDirt.com, the best gold concentrates on the market, period. Also, be sure to check out our Honest Bonus program.
All right, everybody. Excuse me. We are back with Shannon Poe and Kevin Hoagland. And there you guys are. Everybody.
Are you sure?
There they all are. Everybody but Kevin. He must still be in bathroom.
Kevin's holding his metal detector. Look at him smoldering in there.
Looks like Hulk Hogan in that picture, doesn't he?
On it, Rich. Oh, yeah.
It looks like Hulk Hogan in there.
What happened to it a mine lab? Yeah.
Isn't that the Macho Man, Scott?
It don't matter.
There he is.
It was all wrestling.
There you go. Look at that beautiful background there, Shannon.
There's a nice background.
This is the backyard that I did last summer for my wife. And now that we actually are living in a totalitarian environment, we're probably going to sell it. So she got to enjoy it for a couple of months.
It looks nice. Very nice.
Quit it. We know you mind it.
Now, Shannon, Why Gold asked, any news about the Christmas dinner this year, even though it is June?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I was actually thinking about that because we did the most popular Christmas video, AMRA annual dinner video that we've ever done. It was amazing. We did a tweak on Forged in Fire, and it turned out so good. It was hilarious. But we had actually booked to do the dinner at the casino, and I can't remember, maybe Jerry or Connie or Don or somebody is on tonight. I don't remember the name of the casino. I don't go to casinos. But we had booked that, paid for it, reserved the place and all that. And then the virus scam happened, and they canceled all of their events for the remainder of the entire year. And so, yeah, which is just absurd. And I just heard that their casino just opened too.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so I think it's probably going to be in January, it looks like. As soon as we know, we will announce that. But we will have our dinner. It is something that obviously we look very much forward to. But I have some really good video ideas for this year.
Oh, it's going to be ugly.
Yes, it is. I think, Kevin, and I think you need to come here for give me 3 days. And
I'm not putting on the Sasquatch suit under any circumstance.
no, you don't need to do the Sasquatch thing. We actually have a cape for you that I'd like you to wear. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So I'll do that. I'll come up there. I'll spend the 3 days, but I'm bringing Scott's mannequin with me.
No, it's too weird. I'm going to have to draw the line there.
Okay.
His name
You
is.
don't want to bring that thing, dude. I'm telling you, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Strap it to the roof of the truck and just drive.
Are those things like made out of like plastic? It's just hollow, isn't it? How does it weigh 80?
Oh, it ain't hollow, baby. It ain't hollow.
He has.
I can throw this thing off a mountain and still live.
It's so sad that he knows that.
You guys, he has a name. His name is Manny.
Is it like a crash test dummy or something?
No, it's an actual like store mannequin. Like with the stuck legs, the arms only go like this. Don't do anything else.
Oh, it's like Tim.
Oh, do that again, Scott.
Yeah.
You guys are recording this, right?
Oh, it's recorded.
Okay.
You
I want that.
are-
I want that screen grab. I can do so much with that.
Manny is a hipster.
He's something.
So he just needs a Starbucks cup.
It takes two people to carry him. I can tell you that.
I think it's funny. Scott has dressed him numerous times. I don't know why.
What are you talking about? He's got one shirt.
Yeah, Scott actually went and bought clothes for Manny.
That's because you guys told me to go buy him a shirt. You guys got to quit fishing this crap, dude. You guys are terrible, man.
Yes, they have clothes.
Shannon, are you getting the impression that Manny showed up like naked?
He did in a box.
I'm just wondering if we could get one of the callers to maybe run out to the internet real quick and put the man's crisis hotline number up for Scott that he can call later. Or at least the mental health thing. Dude, there's some really.
Shannon, I did not go out and buy a freaking mannequin. We got Tim Grimes, that freaking on a radio show, raised enough money to buy a freaking mannequin.
So let me give you an analogy, Mr. Toney. When we did our Walk for Liberty last year,
Right.
we were between the North Yuba and the American River in one of those little towns there. And I'm walking along, I'd already put 10 miles in, and I look down in the ditch, and here's this leather outfit thing that had a anatomically correct thing attached to it. Just because somebody finds something or gives you something doesn't mean you have to wear it, buddy.
It was a ploy for the show. I don't know. It's Tim Grimes.
What was that, like 4 years ago now?
Hey, Manny has feelings. He's in the chat room too, just in case you guys are wondering. Manny's always in the chat room talking to everybody. And hey,
Though
he's a good guy.
honestly, Shannon, I gotta say, Scott is a man of many talents, right? Yeah. He's done so many things, right? So I am going to show you just share something with everybody here. Something that Scott has done.
Oh my God, nothing
on my screen.
Yeah.
You got it? You see it? It's blank. It's white, right?
It's blank.
How about now?
Yeah, we see it now.
So Scott,
keep watching.
This was Fulton Homes, which I don't know, Kevin, you may know, a builder in Arizona. Oh, yeah. Right?
Yep.
What's this?
So just pay attention now to the screen.
Let's watch.
Wait, it's coming up. Oh,
wait.
Oh, look who it is! Oh, look at that.
Yeah. The Village People.
So you've seen it. Scott is TV personality.
Hey, but I will say one thing. That was the very first commercial right when the Super Bowl ended. I got front time scenery.
You mean like right after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, like right when they said, we're going to go to a break after they won. That was the first commercial.
It's Scott's rise to fame was a kid bumping in him and Scott smiling. Yeah, that's illegal now. Just saying.
Now it's a man again.
Hey, I've been trying to get on TV for years. You just don't even know. That's why I started YouTube. That's why I did that. I did a lot of other things too, but I ain't gonna show you.
That was, I laughed so hard when I saw that. It's just-
Well, that's why you have a man again now, Scott, to help your career. That is
I
what.
just loved it because I was supposed to show up, and I think that was like a $60 gig, and they ended up paying me because I stayed all day and I helped them because I said that's not real. They wouldn't do that, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "No, you got to be real." And I actually got paid like $360 or something like that for that day. I was like, "Cool."
Hat?
Huh?
Did you get to keep the hat?
No.
Oh, bummer.
I'll make sure that you get one of these back here.
There you
Matter
go.
of fact, way up on the top shelf where it's hidden is the one that glows in the dark.
Oh, there you go, Scott.
That'd be perfect for him and Manny. They could share it. That's the way it should be. Sharing.
It is what it is, folks. It is what it is.
Hey, it's your claim to fame, Scott. Ride the wave.
I just do. Like I said, I do a lot of stuff. I just don't like to do one thing. I just continue on doing other stuff.
Well,
Lisa
Shannon, not to digress away from,
Wow.
Oh, that big one.
camera. Aren't you having an outing coming up here at the office, Claim?
This weekend, next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So we're our good buddy down in Arizona, Bill Southern, had done a fundraiser for us, and he got us quite a bit of gold, actually. And so he donated that to us. We are going to give away probably a ½ ounce of gold, I think, on Saturday. We're going to kind of divide that up. We've got a 2.5-inch Proline combo that we're going to give away. 2 week-long trips to Roaring Camp.
Oh, wow.
And then a ton of other prizes. So, and then we're going to have the duck races, which are really wildly popular. That's a lot of fun. And we got decent water in the creek right now. Hell, it just rained here yesterday. So we had thunderstorm but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you shared a picture of all the ducks in the duck race. It looks like Jimbo's artistic skills are still doing well there.
Yeah. Yeah. He's quite talented. Just ask him.
Kevin, we're going to be your neighbors soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. You need to get up here.
We purchased the property, and now we've got 3 years to build. So we'll get it done.
They got, what is it, 15 or 20 acres?
18.
They got 18 acres of fire land.
Yeah, have you checked over there? They had a big fire in that area.
No, it's
No,
good. Like it would have had to have gone north, swim up through Lake Pleasant, then jump a ways to get to it. So we're good.
No. See, that was the very first one. We've had 2 after that.
Yeah, the
It's kinda
fire today is on the north end, heading that direction.
That's why I tried to explain to them. Like, you don't understand how fire comes.
Well, there's nothing there to burn anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it, Tim. It'll just, it goes fast. It goes really fast.
Shad ain't got a house there yet, so it's okay. It could blaze on through there, I guess.
That's cool. You guys bought that. Are you guys moving to Arizona then?
Yes.
When are you doing that?
When the last one graduates, so in 3 years.
We have 2 more.
Yeah, we have one graduating next year, and then if the youngest, he'll be a sophomore in high school.
No, that's cool. Well,
Nope.
congratulations, guys. That's really cool.
Arizona residents.
You know they don't have koi ponds in Arizona, right?
Yes, they do.
They're going to.
She's already found koi groups in Arizona.
Yes, I'm already members of koi owner groups, and
yeah.
it's going to be like an enclosed koi
See,
pond.
you haven't heard all the conversation. We've already had many arguments about all this because I just want to build a little simple house. She wants to build a house around a koi pond.
make
It's all
Shannon,
that.
Heated.
what do you think's going to happen when a 12 pack of Harrison Hawks comes by and seen that?
Oh no, it's all
food trend?
Oh, no,
enclosed
it's
and
going to be
protected,
enclosed like a greenhouse, and I'm going to use the.
but not a greenhouse.
I'm going to use like the fish poo for my plants.
That's gonna be a lot of fish.
I'm just gonna do what she tells me to do. She will get what she wants.
So Shad, is Kathleen like Lisa is here, where she comes up with these really amazing ideas that, oh, this would be so good, you know, if you could just build this and it would look amazing, and you know, just I need a little shed here, but I want a covered deck and it needs to be redwood, and I want a chandelier and all this shit.
Hey, that's
Shit like that, and then you go, good God, do you know what that all entails? But and Lisa has figured this out many years ago. Here's her look. But you can build anything.
Yes, she wants.
You think I'm kidding? So here, take a look.
I need a friend. She then hands me a drawing of this design, and it's like slat, an X, and then another square, but different sizes of
beautiful.
wood. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
So look, there's the shed.
Yep.
There's the covered redwood deck, the chandelier.
That's
oh yeah,
gorgeous.
the door that matches the front of the house, same color. Oh yeah,
that the
and
shoe.
a sidewalk to nowhere that leads to it. And all it holds is my tools and her stuff.
That is pretty. That's
It does-
gorgeous.
It does.
And
actually
you were
look
so-
pretty cool.
And you were so glad to build it for her, were you not?
Yes, I was elated that I had the opportunity to make her happy.
Yes, of course.
That's the correct answer.
That is the right answer.
It's a
Shad
cute
made the mistake of
Looking to see if
making
there's
it-
incoming.
We'll warn you. If
Well,
we-
you've seen the latest version of our koi pond, right, Shannon? Version 5. All right. It started first with the reflecting pond for her
Yeah.
just to look at. Then she was like, hey, nothing grows in this spot. Let's build a little water feature. I'm like, okay. So I did. Then she goes, let's put a couple fish in there. I'm like, that's cool. I like fish. And then next thing she goes, you know, it's going to be winter. We need a deeper pond so they don't die. And I'm like, oh my God. So then I built a koi pond out of the reflecting pond, right? And put the waterfall where she told me to. The next year, she's like, I don't like the waterfall there. We're having bad luck.
Bad feng shui.
Feng shui says it needs to flow towards the house. So then I proceeded then to move the waterfall and everything to the opposite end. So that was done. And then, of course, now I had to make
finished.
more improvements to it this year.
5.0.
5.0.
5.0.
Just saying.
And I got 2 more koi today, by the way.
Yeah. She had to put her koi in quarantine for a week.
Yeah.
What?
Did it have COVID?
COVID koi.
COVID koi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Koi, yep.
They were sick, so they had to go into quarantine.
Oh man, did you give them a COVID test? Shove a Q-tip up their nose?
They're in the pond now, so they're healthy.
Oh my God.
But Kathleen needs more rocks now, she said. So now I need to find more rocks and bring home.
I don't know where you're gonna find rocks prospecting.
In the creek. Hello. Nice and round. You can stack them however you want. Put a little cement in them. You're
Hey,
good.
when we move out there and we build that koi pond, we'll invite everybody over for a party.
Yeah, to help move rocks.
We end up being your guys' neighbors as well.
Awesome.
We're gonna see blue herons, Harrison hawks, skunks, miners cats.
Oh,
They're gonna have a
skunks.
metropolis.
The skunks love koi.
Okay,
Oh,
I have a question though.
And they're big, ain't they, Kevin?
oh yeah. Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
dig this koi pond, am I allowed to run the dirt through a dry washer?
Yeah.
In Arizona, it's your own property.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say
Private?
you could dig it up with a backhoe. They couldn't say nothing.
Well, I know I've already talked to Jimbo about this because we need to use a bulldozer to clear some areas off. So he's already
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. You own the property. There ain't nothing nobody could say.
Didn't know. Now you know something with the dirt, Shad.
But I just heard Shannon said he's going to be a neighbor too, possibly.
Where are you gonna be?
we're thinking about it. She's looking at Prescott.
Okay.
She kind of likes that area, but we're not sure. We've got a couple of things right now that are going on that we're trying to make a determination, but we're probably going to leave this. I mean, I'm living in the Bay Area of California is about as much fun as a root canal and a prostate exam at the same time. It's just, I mean, the people driving around wearing their masks in their car with their rolled up windows. Now in this county, you can't drive around with your window down without a mask on in your own car doing 80 miles an hour on the freeway. I'm not kidding. So it's that kind of crap and that type of lunacy that's just utterly ridiculous that, I mean, who would want to live in an environment like this?
Well, you know what? Like Bob Barker said, come on down.
Well, and I don't know if that's going to be the case. We're kind of hoping that some of the other things that we've got going on may come to fruition. And if that's the case, we may stay in California, but it's not going to be in the Bay Area. It's just intolerable to live here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah, but I thought you were in a good section because I thought anything from Sacramento on down just.
Well, the Bay Area is due west of Sacramento, and it's right in the heart of way more 30 miles from Oakland and 40 miles from San Francisco. And that those people that find San Francisco intolerable move over here. And then you get all the people in Silicon Valley and San Jose and stuff. They don't want to live down there because they can't stand the policies, yet they come over here and that's what they vote for. And so they're even transitioning our community here into kind of this little crappy failing utopia that they believe is there if they just do it right this time. And it never happens. And so it's just, it's intolerable to live here.
Well, I got to say this, Shannon. Jimbo did make the comment, with you living in the Bay Area, you should be used to semi-grown man doing strange things to mannequins.
Well, yeah, there is that. But that's not my forte. So it's not what I'm into.
Well, as Scott likes to say, just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Good God.
Oh, man.
I got nothing.
No,
Yeah.
I got you guys. Shannon, Kevin,
Scott also says you just don't understand.
Scott.
That's fine.
It's Scottism.
What?
It's a Scottism, is what.
Scottism.
Hey, sometimes people just don't understand.
It's
That's more or less my way. That's more or less my way of saying you're too stupid to talk to. I'm done.
Don't your listeners have any questions or anything?
We're looking. What the heck is that?
I don't know.
well, the chat room, but when you were on, you were talking. I didn't like interrupting you. Yeah,
Huh?
They can call in, right?
Yes.
call in. They sure can. What's that number, Rich?
419-527.
Nope.
I tried.
You're close. 419-520-7574.
There you go. That's it.
Call in and say hi. Come on.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, come on. It's an open platform for you. We got Shannon and Kevin.
Before we let him go, because Jesse's gonna call in after Kevin and Shannon leave. He's gonna give away one of those new Gold Claw big old pans.
Oh, the production pan.
Production pan, yeah, from Gold Claw.
Oh,
Gave him permission to give one away here tonight.
That's a pretty cool pan.
Yeah, so we'll be giving one of those away to one of our listeners in the Gold Prospector Space chat room as soon as.
And again, Shannon, I didn't get to thank you personally at the Gold Show because I kind of went through Jim and the other guys. But thank you. And I know one listener, and I can't remember who it is. I just put the name to Terry something.
Manny.
Won the Mega Amber giveaway that I had going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool. Yes.
good. Well, you know what? Why don't we give away an Amber shirt and a hat to somebody? Let's Kevin, come up with a question that somebody has to answer. First person that answers it, we'll ship them a nice shirt and a hat.
Okay. First,
Oh, look at the cogs working on that one.
Okay, you got to do the Jeopardy drop now. I got to think.
ready.
God, I didn't think you would actually do that. Now I can't think.
A question about mining.
I was looking more for a question about California, but it'd have to be something fairly simple. Who was the man who discovered gold at Sutter's Mill?
All right.
Ooh, I know.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Watching chat rooms.
Look in the chat room.
Which one you like?
Nazis.
Nazi?
That is incorrect.
What the heck?
Are we looking in YouTube chat room too, or?
Watching it. I'm watching. Draw a blank.
Oh, good Lord.
Sutter. No.
Who?
Sutter.
No.
John Tinkle.
See, that name was too easy.
James Marshall.
Winner.
Bingo.
That's funny. Kathleen couldn't contain herself and
I had to say
whispered it to
something.
me.
That was Dan Zoller that got that correct.
All right.
Way to go, Dan.
Ask Dan if he's going to the outing this weekend.
Are you going to the outing this weekend, Dan?
Dan, are you going to the outing this weekend?
Are you going to the outing this weekend?
We're just wondering, are you going to the outing?
To the outing
Rich?
at the office.
This weekend.
This weekend at the office.
The outing. That would be the AMRA outing.
Did Scott just fall out of his chair?
I think so.
I think he said, yepper.
Keep going.
Probably fell off the lap of Manny.
That was
Life of the miners.
same thing.
Shannon, he'll be there.
Okay, I'll hook him up.
All right, cool.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Do you like that picture behind me?
The picture behind you?
Gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gold.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know something funny about that picture? That was one day on a GPAA claim that you guys let go.
Figures.
In Arizona?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? I was going to pick it up, but I got beat by a Canadian company. They bought everything.
Yep.
Like all the Abbeys, they bought it all.
Yep.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the Canadian companies that are going out. We had this problem outside of Wickenburg, where a Canadian company came in, and what they'd found is they had in the pegmatite they had located a little bit of lithium, and it was basically back in the 50s. The DuPonts came in and just basically blanketed this entire area. And then another company came in a few years ago called Newsboy Mining and blanketed this area. And well, the Canadian company that came in, they blanketed it. And I mean, they put in posts right in the middle of 3 of my claims, like, and overclaimed it, did everything, you know, all the fun stuff. And they raised millions of dollars in penny stocks, and then they dropped all the claims.
Yeah. Did they fly over with that big metal detector under a helicopter?
No, they didn't even get to that point. That would have cost money.
They did that in Black Canyon City.
Yep. Yeah.
So what happens if a company comes in and blankets a claim and it's like over private property and stuff?
They invalidate the claims. I mean, it was a half a dozen phone calls to BLM and invalidated like 30 of their claims, and that, you know, that they were raising money. They were raising money.
Wow. Shannon, Jimbo just sent me a text, and I'm calling him out because I don't want to get yelled at for this, but he wanted to ask you about the U.S. Forest Service approval for the outing.
They said no.
They said no.
Are you wearing masks? at the outing?
They said no.
Well, that's not for the Forest Service to determine, but as it stands right now, the Forest Service is not issuing permits for public events. So we're having our public event this Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Mhm.
What's so funny is because as long as you've been down there, if I was a forestry cert, I'm like, I'm not even driving down that road.
We don't expect to see any of them.
Ah.
So, it's just utterly ridiculous, guys. We submitted their little form to get the permit for that, but we're not really anticipating things. First of all, you don't need a permit if it's under 75 people. We were kind of wondering whether it would be more or less than that. And I can just tell you right now, it's probably going to be right at 74 people when the total tally is in. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a nice place to go. That's a nice place to go. You're talking about the office, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a real cool place to go. Even with families, it's like easy cheesy. You guys got it set up. It was great when I was there.
We had a guy that found a 7-gram nugget right there in the middle of the campground last year, right in the creek. But we had a couple of big floods that had come through, and it's kind of changed that. I was going to tell Kathleen. So anyway, yeah, the outing is this weekend. We're not anticipating any problems, and if people want to social distance and do all that kind of stuff, and if they want to, have the boot of government on their neck, then they're more than willing to do that. Although I think that most of the people, probably if not all, probably have recognized by now that this whole thing is really kind of ridiculous and hypocritical.
Well, Scott, you should definitely go, man. I mean, you'd only be counted as a half a person. So
Unless it takes Manny, then it'd be 1.5.
Then it'd be one person, yeah, with Manny, exactly.
But I wanted to say something to you two right there. So, Kathleen, we took you down to Ratchilla, and I remember you sitting in the freaking ice cold water, getting soaked. I still can't even believe that you did that. But that spot has dramatically changed. So we had the drought came along about a year after that. It kind of started, and some of the big trees died. So a couple of them blew over, and then the Forest Service came in and actually cut down some of those enormous cedars and pines, and they dropped them. And so then we had an epic flood 2 years ago come down through there. And I mean a Noah's Ark 100-year type flood. And it washed away that whole bank that we were standing on that you were right below. That whole bank got washed away, and it exposed all this virgin freaking gravel. And and we just found out about this literally 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So anyway, we had sent one of our friends down in there, and he went in and out of one crack, I think, pulled 3 grams, just digging it out. And so we've kind of saved that spot right now because nobody really knows where it is. We sent one of my old mining buddies in there, and I think he's pulled probably a 1/4 ounce out of there in 2 trips.
Nice.
So,
I think you should name that spot after Kathleen then, at least, at the very minimum.
we call it Kathleen's hole.
Yeah. Even in the frigid cold, it still puts out.
Oh, wow.
So, how about a recap of everything we've talked about tonight?
Hey, Kevin, while you're still here, I mean, we talked to Shannon, but is there anything in Arizona that's going on right now that maybe we don't know about that you do that you could like any rule changes, anything like that? Is something?
No, not really. Not really. We have what we talked about earlier. We have a new adjudicator in the state of Arizona with the BLM, and those are issues that I'm taking care of right now. It has affected a handful of people. So is the person that did this, is that in the BLM office that we're looking at? Yes. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. This is on the federal level.
All right.
And that spot where that gold came from, you need to call me because I might have a permission slip to get on that property.
Oh, very nice. Give them a call. Yeah.
Not much going on in the state of Arizona right now. I mean, there's really not been any rule changes. It's it's pretty much status quo. There are people that are getting out on a daily basis, which is really good. And of course, Scott, as you know, it hit 100. You know, we got it well into the hundreds last week, and that's going to continue for a while. So the safety factors are all out there. Try to go out.
I'll tell you what about Arizona. I really like Arizona because you know what? If you're not in a natural forest area, they really don't mess with you too much.
No, I've had BLM LE come up to me and just ask me, talk to me a little bit and want to know what I'm doing, and showed a lot of interest, and they were never threatening. I mean, I've never really had any problem with BLM LE up here. I've had my issue a few years ago with the custodian, the forest ranger, who was quickly brought to task by the Forest Service law enforcement officer, as the ranger decided I wasn't supposed to be there, and the LE decided that I was absolutely within my right to be there. So he set that one straight. I really haven't had a lot of issues that way. Most of my issues that I've had with BLM in the years has been admin. And I consider myself lucky. I mean, I look at things that happen in California where tasers, guns, who knows, all of these other things that have gone on. I've never had that type of stupidity that's come upon me here. I've had it happen in Colorado, but that was,
Now in Arizona, since we have federal mining claims and stuff like that, is it still true? And which I hold it true because I still will call the local sheriff, because sheriff trumps what they're talking about because we actually own the mining rights. Is that still true today, or?
I don't quite understand the question, Scott.
Well, like if like the BLM come down there and was saying you have to leave off your claim, mining claim, if you actually call your county elected official, like the sheriff, they can tell the BLM, no, he's well in his rights. It's the county elected official.
You can call the sheriff's department. I don't necessarily know that in all cases it's going to do. I mean, generally by the time it's going to depend on what's going on. It really is. We've had cases where somebody's called the local sheriff or called the Yavapai County sheriff, right, because they felt threatened by a BLM agent. But when the BLM officer got there, and they ended up in a conversation. So you're talking about a federal officer and a county sheriff, and the simple question was what preceded you to make this man feel threatened? And he said, well, he's real simple. I mean, I'm a federal law enforcement officer, and this guy put his hand on his gun. Yeah. Right. So it's a case by case thing, and
Well, real quick, we got some questions in the YouTube chat right now. Somebody asked, what's the best club to join? Well, that's the GPAA, AMRA, not a club, but you get access with your tax deductible donation to amazing mining claims. So there's that. But BMXer Don01 asked, is it possible to set up a claim on a creek within its city limits out in, I assume out west in California or Arizona area? Potentially.
Well, yeah, it has to be on, if they're talking about California, it needs to be on federally managed land. We don't call it USFS land or BLM land because it's not theirs, it's yours. They just manage it. But you can do a pretty simple search. You can go to caltopo.com is a really good one, is you can pull up a map of the state and then just zoom into the area that you want. And then there's a menu on the right-hand side that you click on, and it'll show you if it's private property or if it's federally managed or state lands and things like that. And if it is, then you would have to go through the BLM to determine if it's land open to mineral entry and if there's a mining claim on it or not. And if there is, then yes, you can file a mining claim on it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome.
It's not a lot of steps. It's just a few steps to do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was going to tell you, the only time that I've never had a bad really run in with a federal employee other than Clint Hughes up in Idaho, which is kind of legendary now. Anyway, he's not there anymore. But the last time that I had a run in was we were getting ready to set up at an outing up at the office, and we were clearing some trees right at the entrance to go down to the campground. And one of the LEOs that we sued for pulling a taser, which Kevin just referred to, was coming up the road and flipped on their lights on top of their truck until they got close and they saw the AMRA truck with the big AMRA logo on the side, clicked the lights off, drove in the ditch to get around me and punched it and disappeared. So that's the last run-in that I had. It was pretty funny. We all liked it.
All right, here's another good question.
This guy.
What is a good starter gold metal detector?
It really depends on, and that's more Kevin's forte, but I'll give you.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna give you my 2 cents because I've got 4 metal detectors. And I mean, I got a GPZ 7000 that we use for load mining, which is pretty phenomenal. Yeah, look at that. Jesus, there's 18 of them in the background. But I love the Gold Monster. When we came to Arizona this year, we found little specks of gold that were like that big that you barely see those in a pan. And this metal detector picked it up, but they're about 800 and some bucks. But that's my 2 cents. So there you go.
Yeah.
Ask Kevin.
Well, to get into the game, to get into the game of having a good detector that's capable of working through the mineralization and actually being able to find gold within that, you're starting around the $700 range now, and anywhere in a minimum around 700, going all the way up to $7,000, almost $8,000 in this particular day and age. But a good starter machine, there's a couple 3 machines that are out there. I never tell anybody which one to buy, but I would definitely take a look at the MineLab, the MineLab Gold Monster. It is a turn on and go detector. I've got mine sitting back here, and I love the machine. It's a pretty much turn on and go. There are people that made mistakes with it because they don't ground balance it properly. There is a very specific way to ground balance it, and there's some, and that's been the biggest problem that people have had with it. I also suggest that you take a look at a machine like the White's Gold or the White's 24K, or the new machine, which is the 24K, but it is the GMZ Sport. So it's basically the 24K in a waterproof housing. A little bit heavier, but you've got a lot. You can do some fine tuning to the machine, and I've been using that machine now for the last 2 or 3 months, and pretty impressed with it. It depends on what you want to do, and there's a certain level you can get into a machine that you can just hit a particular peak, and that's really about as far as you're going to go, or you can get into machines that you can grow into and continue on with.
See,
I never got onto metal detecting because I just didn't have the patience for it. But I got a Gold Monster, and I love it. It's easy for me. Yeah. So if it's easy for me, anybody can do it.
Oh yeah, it's the Gold Monster was I saw before I left MineLab. I saw some of the technology that ultimately became the Gold Monster, and I did some of the stuff that they were working on, and it was just amazing to think that within 5 or 6 years, the stuff that they were working on then would actually start to line out and start becoming some of these machines. And the biggest one was just the shock when the SDC 2300 came out, with the way that machine worked, and then when the 7000 came out using the ZVT, the zero voltage transmission, was just a shocking machine.
Now, speaking of MineLab, Weigold said he's heard rumors of a new CTX. Have you heard anything about MineLab coming out with new technology?
No, I look, it's even all the years that I worked with MineLab, it was basically all those years that I worked for MineLab, there comes a point in time where a machine has been out for X amount of years. So the assumption is, because, if you look at how MindLab brings machines into the marketplace, there's always assumption that there's an EOL or an end of life of a detector, and then another one's getting ready to come out. So is MindLab working on something? Of course, MindLab's always working on something. I can't, but I'm 8 years, I'm what, 8 years since I've worked for MindLab.
Now, Kevin, when somebody asks me about a starting out metal detector, I mean, I'm not a great metal detectorist, but I do know what fine stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, my opinion is, if you're going to start out and you want to stay low key, I would say a Gold Bug or a Tesoro Lobo. Would those be like maybe your first starters? Like,
if it's a new Gold Bug, and I can't even think what they're actually calling it, Gold Bug Pro, it's not a bad machine. And that was the third one that I was going to toss in there.
Right.
Is the Gold Bug Pro, because it's back to the original Gold Bug. It's a 19 kilohertz detector. And to be one of the biggest changes is that, of course, instead of being all manual, it now has some auto tune features to it. And you've got the ground grab, whereas the original Gold Bug back in 1986 when I got my very first Gold Bug in 86, you had to learn how to run all the knobs, because
that's what I got now.
The Gold Bug, I love the Gold Bug. There it is.
Yeah, I see it right there. It is.
Yeah, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. That's the Gold Bug 2. And the Gold Bug 2, I love that machine at 71 kilohertz. It's still the highest frequency detector on the marketplace. And especially a lot of new people that haven't heard me talk about this, it's real simple. The higher the frequency, the closer to the surface, it works to find small targets. The lower the frequency, the deeper in the ground to go to far larger, more conductive targets. But that machine is completely and totally manually tuned. No matter what, it's manual ground balance. Everything about that machine is manual. Put that machine in Kathleen's hands with zero patience, and it'll last about 10 feet. And then she'll be off digging. She'll be off talking to horny toads and trying to play with it.
I'll be looking for gold.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an incredible machine, but it's a tough machine to really master. And
now, have you ever tried the Tesoro Lobo?
I have. The only reason I don't mention Tesoro anymore is because they're out of business. I mean, they're gone. They've closed the doors. So,
weren't they in Prescott?
Pardon?
Weren't they from Prescott?
Yeah, they're building still in Prescott. When Jack opened up Tesoro, he had some great ideas, and when they came out with the original Lobo, 17 kilohertz machine, incredibly good machine, manually tuned. And then when they came to the Super Track, that was when Tesoro came to the market with a automatic ground balancing detector. Great machine, huge range of coils that you could use on it. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's a good machine, but they just simply, I mean, it's sad. I really hated to see that Tesoro went away.
Well, last question, and we can let both you and Shannon go, Kevin. The GPA and AMRA, are they still sharing claims? And if so, are the AMRA ones listed in the GPA claims guide?
We are still sharing claims, and the claims are listed in the GPAA online mining guide only.
Awesome.
Okay.
Be sure to join GPAA and support AMRA.
That's right.
Wow, Shad jumped up and started becoming the producer.
All right.
We must be running out of time. So don't forget, listener, call in.
What am I going to do?
Kevin, Shannon, as always, man, thank you guys for coming by. We really appreciate it. Shannon, keep up the good work. Keep doing everything you're doing. And Kevin, same with you, brother. Always good to see you out there getting that new property and just helping Shannon out now along the way too. So
and remember, everybody, if I can become lifetime members of both groups, so can you.
Can too.
I kind of consider Shannon and I've been joined at the hip for a few years, and
Yeah. You guys are starting to look alike, so you've been hanging out.
all right. Thank you guys. Enjoy. Have fun.
Thank
Tell
you.
everybody else hello.
Good to see
Take
you.
care,
guys.
brother.
Love you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for
Be
coming.
good, Shannon.
Later, Gators. Okay, let's see. There's
Shannon's
what?
got to figure out how to close it this time.
Yeah. Deanna's got to figure out how to go. He's like, how do I close it?
There we
Good
go.
show, great information. Good show, great information. I
Yeah.
like it.
Sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but definitely forward
was
them on to
fun.
them. They're on Facebook, so
All right. Well, we got like 2 giveaways to do.
Dude,
Well, one I already took care of it. That was for the book. For
oh, and just for everybody that's out there, the mega giveaway, the 2 gold call pans before COVID-19 come up, they will be mailed out this week.
are you done, Scott?
Yes, pretty much.
Scotty. Jesus God. All right. The first one's going to be for the book from Ruben. Remember, he did the one for the likes. Okay.
Yeah.
So the winner for that is Bruce Custer. Bruce Custer is the winner of the book. Now, Toledo, Jesse, you're supposed to be calling in now to tell us about your giveaway from Gold Call for us. And don't forget about
Flash bash.
that's right. And don't forget Flash Bash. And don't forget about Tuesday night hangouts with Ed, Jess, and Dano over there on their YouTube channel at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday night. Be sure to check that out. If you're not doing nothing, you want to be over there watching. There's Jesse. All right. Hello, Jess. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good. What's going on? What's happening, brother? So you got one of those new production pans?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact, because, with the COVID thing and all the shows being canceled, Clint wasn't able to, show it off, right?
Right. True that.
He's been, right?
Right.
He's been doing that starter thing for a while now, where he's selling those pans at half price. So it's almost over. You're running out of time to get get one of those pans at that price. I guess they're gonna go about $100 a piece.
What? Really?
Yeah. Right now you get them for around 50.
That's a deal. On what? On his Kickstarter or something?
Yeah, on his Kickstarter, if you go to his Gold Claw page, there's a Kickstarter there for it, and it's just about done. He's getting ready to start shipping out here tomorrow.
Oh.
But he wants to give everybody one more opportunity to maybe help out with that. But in the meantime, he said, Jesse, would you give away a production pan for me on the show? And you just the winner, you know what you do it. Miss Kathleen's job to get everybody's name down there for the giveaway.
Okay.
And then we'll give one away. You just message me on GPS, and I'll get your address with the winner out to Clint.
All right, cool. So
I am offended. How come I do not have a production pan from Clint yet?
I don't have one either.
I don't have one.
Rich don't have one. Kathleen, Scott, the Shad, do you got one?
You're not special.
No, we ain't got one.
I don't have one.
I'm promoting the damn thing.
Thanks,
I don't
Clint.
have one either. So what do you got to say?
Are you gonna give one at the Flash Bash? Flash Bash.
And we're also going to give another one away on Tuesday night. For those who didn't get one.
Okay.
And there may be one at the Flash Fest.
Oh boy, getting in on that.
Dude, if you guys haven't seen that pan yet, it's freaking huge. It's awesome.
Seen it, yeah.
We have not only seen it, but we got to fondle it at a gold show in Phoenix.
You got to fondle
Did you
it?
say fondle?
Maybe we fondled the one somebody's going to win tonight.
I don't know.
Maybe. It could be a pre-fondled can. Just saying.
You just don't know.
I've got
You got a name, Kathleen?
a name. Do you need it?
Hold on, let me get our giveaway music ready.
Okay.
What do you guys want, Benny Hill or Jeopardy?
Benny Hill already played Jeopardy. It's played out.
Are we doing the 1 minute 30-second rule like always, Jess?
Like always.
Like
you know.
always. Okay, so they got 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer in the GPS chat room that they're here. Kathleen, let her rip, Tater Chip.
The name is Robert Kanzler.
Robert Kanzler?
Kanzler.
Cansler. First name Robert.
I think it's Kanzler or Kanzler.
First name Robert.
That's good.
First name Robert.
First name Robert. Last name Kanzler.
Yo, Bob, you want to call in?
That you are here in the chat room. That's all you gotta do.
All you gotta say is here.
We've even accepted a blank space just as long as your name popped up in the chat.
So you're here, Robert Kanzler. I think I'm saying your name right.
You're from Aiken, South Carolina, if that helps.
Woo! Big OSC! Home of NASCAR, baby.
Your profile picture has you with has a stick figure with the metal detector. In case we got the name wrong.
Running out of time. Tiki Taki.
Kanzler.
Robert Kanzler.
Like
Come
literally
on, Bob, you're in the chat room.
a period in the chat room like I just did, and you'll win. So, not asking much. This is awkward. It's literally awkward now.
Yeah.
Gee, Jess, this is the same thing that happened on the first mega giveaway.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, I know. It happens. I've seen this happen. Gotta get thrown away.
3 seconds remaining.
I couldn't believe on the first mega giveaway that the guy didn't say I'm here. I was crazy.
Kathleen.
We don't know if that's you in YouTube is GS prospecting. So you got to be at goldprospectspace.com, which you are logged in right now.
Just
You're in the chat room somehow then.
Who is it?
Chat room. So
Go
Kathleen.
to the other window.
Even a brand new member.
His time's up.
Time's up. Yeah. I stopped.
Oh, man.
Oh.
All right, let's get another one.
Oh my God.
MG.
All right.
LMAO.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
It is Brian Smith.
Brian Smith.
Oh, you know he ain't gonna miss it.
Brian Smith.
Brian Smith. Tiki Taki.
Where's Brian Smith from?
I don't know.
He's from America.
Let me check. He's in Grand Canyon, Arizona.
He's here.
There you go.
Here.
Congrats, Brian.
Congratulations, Brian. Rich is going to send you a side chat to get your mailing info.
Who am I going to send it to?
You'll pass it on to me, and I'll send it to Jeff.
Okay.
Jesse will pass it on to Clint.
Why don't he just send it to Jesse?
Well, he can do that, Brian.
Hey, you know what? That sounds like a really good idea.
That's a really good
Why don't you
idea.
just-
That would eliminate some steps.
I send it to 2 different people.
Let's streamline the process here.
Let's cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman. No Rich. No Tim. Yes.
Easy peasy. Jesse's going to side chat you, Brian, and get your mailing info. And
No, Brian, I wanted him to message me, 'cause then I'll have it.
Brian,
You know,
send Jesse a message to his inbox here on GPS. Just click his name and then send him go to his inbox, click it, send him a message with your mailing info, and he'll get that to Clint, and Clint will get that to you. So you have one of the new production pans from Gold.
does he have to friend me? Do I have to friend
Usually, I
him?
think yes, he's got to be your friend to send you a message.
Aw.
Good friendship.
Send him a
Look at
friend.
that. Gold prospector space, making people friends.
That's right. One
Bringing people together to find gold.
I feel so bad for the first guy though. So
Well, it happens.
So go ahead and friend me. I'll accept it.
Yes, Brian, send Jesse a friend request. Easy peasy. Jesse, that was really cool of you guys and Clint to do that. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was talking to Clint about it, and
Mhm.
he's going to do that. I said, have flash in your pan and gold club. Give that away. So there you go.
That's cool.
And like I said, flashback.
Flashback.
hey, just remember, tell old Clint I'm really puzzled why I don't have that pan in my mail.
What are you gonna do with it? Hang it on the wall because you ain't gonna use it.
Dude, I use his pans all the time. You just don't even know.
There it is. You just don't understand.
You just don't understand, man. Hey, I got with Clint before his pans even started coming out. I'm like, dude, I could do YouTube videos on this because I thought it was innovative. It was freaking new. And I got it. I don't care how you put it, it works. And like I said, I'm glad that he came out with a bigger pan. I've been telling him that for even before he come out with a pocket pan. I'm like, dude, you need to make it bigger. I need bigger.
If you let Manny use it, then you should have one.
Manny can't use his own hands, let alone mine. Of
'Cause
course, if he was a Shad, he'd probably use his hand. I don't know. But anyhow,
is it bigger?
Just saying.
Yeah.
just saying.
Jesse, thanks, brother.
Thanks, Jesse.
Tell Clint
Thank
thank
you. Thanks a lot, bro.
See you Thursday.
Yeah, tell Clint thank you from all of us here at the show. And
You ready?
Flash Bash.
Flashback.
Flash Bash. Have a great week, Jess. Thanks, brother.
All
right.
Later.
Later, buddy. Bye. All right. On that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's late.
I gotta work tomorrow.
Gotta work
What are you talking about? It's only 7 o'clock.
10 here.
10 o'clock.
I'm just messing with you guys.
Thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to join us Wednesday for West Coast Wednesday.
Heck yeah. Hey, and wait, we're going to have a special guest.
Well, tell us quickly.
Special guest is going to be Wide Gold. We're going to do some beach metal detecting information.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Look forward to that. And a guest on Tuesday Night Hangout is Coulter Young of Magic Bit is our guest this Tuesday. So don't forget, check them out. Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at Just Dano YouTube Hangouts. All right, we're out of here. Have a great week, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Get out there and start living life, or life ain't there. Start living,
Go
gold
diggers.
diggers.
For more info, please go to www.prospectorsradio.com.